building to the roof of the other building, and his foot slipped and he fell to his death. And so when the next son was born in the Lawrence family, he too was named Henry. And that's the one who became my son-in-law. It's been a great joy to have the families connected. Another one of my sons married a pink name. And so the families sort of all got connected. But I was the one who went into politics early. I thought it was my duty. It's the civic virtue, the duty to serve the community, to serve the area, to serve the state. And so I was elected to the legislature. And then in 1765, when Parliament over there in England passed the stamp tax, which meant that they would tax the colonies without their consent, I felt that my right as an Englishman was being violated. And it was my civic duty to help with the protest. I went to the Stamp Act Congress, sent there by the people of Charlestown. I was the youngest man ever. I was still in my 20s when I went to the Stamp Act Congress. And I was one of those who helped draft the document that we sent to the King and to Parliament, protesting the fact that they were violating our rights as Englishmen by passing direct taxes upon us when we were not represented in the taxing body. I was pleased when, although the stamps were here, although the stamps were in Charleston, we were able to hide those stamps. We never sold them in Charleston. And then we heard that the Stamp Act had been rescinded. We had considerable trouble with the King's government in Charleston. The King would send us governors who were unsympathetic with our way of life, unsympathetic with the problems of living in a colonial area. Our only weapon was to withhold the salary of the King's governor. And this we did until occasionally the governor would cooperate with us as we thought he should. The only weapon we had then was withholding the salary. When the tea came in 1773, it was a real problem for us. We didn't know whether to land that tea or not. We knew what had happened in Boston. The news came quickly. And I was afraid that we might engage in Charleston in a rash act, as they had done in Boston. It was on my suggestion that we landed the tea, but that we stashed it all in the basement of the Exchange building in Charlestown and sold not a bit of the tea. So that the problem about, again, being taxed and taxed on the basis of tea was solved. And I was one of those who rejoiced when, after things had fallen apart and there was war between the colonies and Great Britain, that then we sold the tea as a charity. As the proceeds, we bought powder and ammunition, and we sent that to the British in return. We also sent, shortly after the tea tax, and Parliament had passed the Boston Port Bill, which closed the port of Boston and threatened that great city with starvation. We sent produce. We sent supplies. We were the first colony to send supplies to Boston. We sent them by ship. And we aided Massachusetts in its time of trouble. Cooperation between the colonies. It later bore fruit for us. But we had first been the one to collaborate. When in 1775, the First Continental Congress was called, I was elected as one of the delegates. I went. I found that there were radicals up there. Radicals who were ready to go for independence. Well, I was opposed to what Britain was doing, but I was an Englishman. I was a great admirer of the British way of life. I didn't want independence. I wanted my rights as Englishmen. And so I helped frame, once more, a petition. This one sent both to the Parliament and to the King, reminding them that they were overstepping the rights of those of us who lived in the colonies. It was a moderate document, not a radical one. My friend Christopher Gadsden was furious with me. Gadsden was a radical, ready to do what he wanted to do. My new friend Henry Lawrence, a man who took care of my business affairs in great amounts. Henry Lawrence was like I was, not ready for independence, but certainly ready to protect our local rights.